The night of the award ceremony was supposed to be one of the proudest moments of my life. My wife, Claire, had spent years building her reputation at her company. Late nights, missed dinners, weekends on the laptop. I always told her that her hard work would be recognized one day, and finally, it was. She had been nominated for Employee of the Year at her firm's annual gala. I helped her pick out her dress, polished her shoes, and told her she'd be amazing. I even took a day off work just to be there. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, "You're always my biggest support, aren't you?" That moment felt genuine, warm, like the old days before her career had taken over our time together. The ballroom was full of elegant people and polished laughter. Music played softly in the background as waiters carried trays of sparkling drinks. Claire looked radiant, glowing with confidence. When her name was announced, I stood and clapped until my hands stung. I was so proud I could barely sit still. She walked to the stage, accepted the award, and began her speech. It started beautifully, full of gratitude for her team and her mentors. I recorded everything on my phone, smiling at every word. But then she said something that made my chest tighten. "And finally," she said into the microphone, "I want to thank my real partner, someone who believed in me every step of the way. Without your support, I wouldn't be here." I waited for her to look in my direction, but she didn't. Instead, she looked across the room, at her colleague, Evan, the project manager she had mentioned so often. He smiled back at her and raised his glass. People clapped. I felt the air leave my lungs. For a few seconds, I didn't know how to react. Maybe she meant professional partner, I told myself. Maybe it was just a poor choice of words. Still, it stung deeply. I forced a smile for the crowd, though inside, I felt invisible. After the speech, she came back to our table, flushed with excitement. "How did I do?" she asked. I managed a soft, "You were great." She started mingling again, surrounded by co-workers who praised her brilliance. I sat quietly, sipping my drink, wondering when exactly she had stopped seeing me as part of her story. When we got home later that night, I said nothing. I just congratulated her again and went to bed early. But the silence between us felt heavier than ever. The next morning, she left for the office early, saying she had to meet the CEO for a follow-up interview about her promotion. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was the CEO himself, Mr. Bennett. I'd met him once at a company event, so I was surprised. His voice was polite but serious. "Mr. Lewis," he said, "I just wanted to reach out personally. We're incredibly sorry for what happened last night." I asked what he meant. He sighed. There was a misunderstanding during Claire's speech. Several people thought she was referring to a personal relationship with her colleague. HR has already clarified it was a work partnership, but it caused some internal concern. "I thought you deserved to know, as her husband." For a moment, I didn't know whether to feel angry or relieved. I thanked him for calling. After hanging up, I sat quietly, realizing how something said carelessly in front of others could shake trust that took years to build. When Claire came home that evening, she looked exhausted. "You talked to Mr. Bennett, didn't you?" she asked. I nodded. She sighed and sat beside me. "I didn't mean to embarrass you." I was nervous and spoke without thinking. When I said real partner, I meant in the sense of teamwork, not. Her voice trailed off. I listened, really listened. She wasn't defensive, just regretful. I could see she understood how much her words had hurt. I told her calmly, "Words matter, Claire. Especially when the person who's been beside you for years is watching from the crowd." She took my hand and whispered, "You're right. I got caught up in trying to prove myself at work and forgot who's been holding me together outside of it." There was no dramatic apology, just quiet honesty. In the weeks that followed, she changed, slowly, but genuinely. She began leaving her phone in another room during dinner, started saying "we" more often, and made time for small things again. Walks, laughter, quiet talks before bed. The award still sits on our shelf, but not as a reminder of that awkward night. It stands as a turning point. The moment she realized success means nothing if you forget who celebrates it with you. Sometimes, love doesn't end in storms or betrayal. It drifts apart through carelessness, until a single wake-up call reminds you what really matters. And in our case, that call didn't come from a fight or a letter. It came from her own CEO, reminding us both that recognition means little without respect.